ich nur noch meinen Kopf. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Nicht tun? Good evening. Okay. Das hat gewirkt. Dear guests, dear colleagues, and dear friends, a very warm welcome to this special event marking the completion of our project, Remapping Refugee Stories. We are truly delighted to have so many of you here with us today. A particularly warm welcome goes to the Vice Rector for Research and International Affairs, Professor Manuela Baccarini, to the Dean of the Faculty of the Philological and Cultural Studies, Professor Stephan Müller, and to Johanna Sokoließ from the Foundation Erinnerung, Verantwortung, Zukunft. Over the past 2 years, the world has reminded us how relevant and urgent our work remains. 80 years after the Holocaust, flight and displacement are not relics of history. However, history can teach us empathy, allowing us to connect with people and their experiences. This is the essence of our project, which brought together people from across the globe. We are honored to welcome so many of them here today. Our project owes much to the dedication of our team. From Vienna, Paul Ferstel, Claudia Geringer, Lars Bullenheim, Hanna Müller, and Hamed Aboud. From Tel Aviv, Sibylle Heilbrunn, Avna Feinguland, and Hagar Saad Shalom. From Bern, Stefanie Maura. From Split, Gordon Matas. From Offenbach, Alia Pagin. From Paraíba in Brazil, Carla Reichmann. From Berlin, Claudia Schoppmann, Raimund Wolfert, and Maura Petersen. From Warsaw, Warszawa, Piotr Skurowski. From London, Shiri Spector. From Kingston in Canada, Sven Steinberg. From Halle an der Saale, Anke Torno, Jenis Dehne, and Sebastian Karius. And from Budapest, Rosa Weida. Our Vienna team is also here, and I want to extend special thanks to Marion Wittfeld, whose contribution have been truly invaluable to make this project reality. Our work owes a lot to the contribution of students, Katharina Kühnel, as well as former colleagues Daniela Scher and Sebastian Dallinger. Thank you. We are also deeply grateful to our translators who ensured these refugee stories transcendent language borders, reaching audiences worldwide. I'm especially pleased to welcome two of them, Donatella Zeni and, joining us online, Martina Stemberger. A highlight today evening is the presence of Ruth Aitan. Ruthi, there you are, the spiritus rector of our project. Ruthi, your ideas and your networks have been the foundation for the work of the last 2 years. And we really eagerly await seeing how this project aligns with your vision. A special greeting goes out to our cooperation partners, to the German Historical Institute in Washington, to the National Fund of the Republic of Austria for Victims of National Socialism, and to the Documentation and Cultural Center of German, Sinti, and Roma. Our project, like any requiring immense expertise and countless hours of work, relies on strong financial support and also on institutional support. And we are profoundly thankful to the Stiftung Erinnerung, Verantwortung, Zukunft for their generosity. And also, thank you for your constant support and collaboration. Finally, we like to extend our gratitude to the University of Vienna and to the Faculty of Philological and Cultural Studies for hosting us, for the assistance throughout the process, from the application to the use of facilities like the Media Lab. Before now, we hear from Professor Baccarini, Professor Müller, and Johanna Sokoließ. My colleague, Professor Werner Nell, will offer you a glimpse of what awaits you in the next 2 hours. Thank you.
So, thank you. Also, a warm welcome from me as well. I'm also very thankful to all those people mentioned already and to the situation that we really have in this time the chance to develop and to make this project happen, what took us about the last 2 years, but it's, as you will see, quite interesting what has happened, and so many thanks for this. We are delighted to present you with a program that reflects the many facets of our project. Following the short welcome speeches, Paula Wojcik will provide a brief overview of the outcomes of our project and introduce the key elements of our website. Afterward, we are thrilled to present the first highlights of the evening, the premiere screening of a documentary film created especially for us by filmmakers Hagar Shalom and Avner Feingulernt. We are particularly proud to have collaborated with them as their work explores topics that are central to our project, documenting the fates of Holocaust survivors, examining the transgenerational impact of displacement, and showcasing the vital role of art in processing these experiences. I'm also pleased to note that their recent film, It Happened on Our Ground, competed for an Oscar in the documentary category. Following the film screening, you can look forward to the second highlight of this evening, a reading accompanied by live music. We are honored to welcome Dörte Lyssewski for the reading. After engagements in Berlin, Zurich, Paris, and Brussels, she has been an ensemble member of the Vienna Burgtheater since 2009. She's a multifaceted artist, an actress, speaker, director, translator, and author, who has written for various newspapers and published 2 books up to date. Tonight, Dörte Lyssewski will read excerpts from 2 of our refugee stories, as well as an autobiographical letter by Guta Tänzer, one of the heroes of our stories. This dialogue between words and music will be enriched by 2 talented musicians from Berlin, and we are thrilled to have them here with us. On vocals, we welcome Maura, a singer and a songwriter whose work spans from R&B, neo-soul, and hip-hop. She will be accompanied on guitar by Rozenfeld, a bassist and composer with projects rooted in Middle Eastern music and Afro groove. Notably, is the grandson of Guta Tänzer, whose story will resonate throughout this evening. Together, they will perform pieces they co-wrote, as well as music from Maura's new album, The Mother of Chaos. That's the title, I think. Before closing, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank also to those working behind the scenes to support us this evening, Katharina Kühnel, Nathalie Ring, and Patrick Ferrer I. Wagner. Thank you very much.
So, good evening from my side as well. My name is Manuela Baccarini. I'm the Vice Rector of the University of Vienna. My specific task here is to promote research and international relationship. It is therefore a real privilege for me to be here today and open the proceedings of this event that concludes the work on the international project Remapping Refugee Stories, carried out here in Vienna at the Department of European and Comparative Literature and Language Studies. It's, so to speak, the beginning of the end. I will not name again all the supporters that have helped, make this project happen, but I just want to extend to all of you heartfelt thanks also from the University of Vienna. I'm really delighted to welcome to the university so many distinguished colleagues. I'm told we have about 60 participants, including national and international scientists, artists, I've heard, hip-hop. I'm not sure I can stay this long, but yeah, would be great to listen to you, students and an interested lay public. So that's a very exciting mix, and I thank you all for being here. Let me tell you a little bit about us. The University of Vienna is one of the oldest universities in Europe, founded in 1365. It is also one of the largest, with about 85,000 students, 1/3 of which are international, and 10,000 employees working in 15 faculties and 5 centers. So it's like a small town, I would say. Yeah. We place a lot of emphasis on young talent and support our PhD students through research-driven training in the context of 18 doctoral schools spanning all of our faculties and centers. And we are spread over 60 locations, so really it's quite a handful to manage. And we are now in one of the most iconic places in the campus. The campus dates back to the 18th century when Emperor Joseph II had a great poorhouse converted into the General Hospital. And then the General Hospital was here for 200 years until the city of Vienna donated it to the university in 1988. The campus is a place with many faces, a green area for scientists and students to work, meet, and relax. Many art and cultural events are held at this unique location, and Viennese love it too. So I hope you will enjoy being here with us. The year 2025 is a significant year of remembrance. It marks 80 years since the conclusion of the Second World War and the Holocaust. In this context, this project is particularly relevant as it preserves and presents the stories of Holocaust survivors and makes an important contribution to the culture of remembrance. The project also stands out for its high level of international collaboration among experts from various countries underscoring the transnational significance of this topic. I'm sure you will hear a lot more about the project, but just in a nutshell, the narratives of 26 individuals who escaped and survived the Nazi regime are now presented in over 15 languages, ensuring that their compelling, harrowing actually, life stories reach a diverse international audience. Europe and the world must make sure to never forget. We need excellent research that helps us to remember, possibly more so now than in past years. The University of Vienna is fully committed to research such as this, which is vital to the proper functioning of liberal democracies. I will just stop here by thanking Professor Wojcik and the whole project team, Viennese and international, for their commitment to the project, the supporters again, the organizing committee who actually makes this happen. And I will now hand over to Dean Müller for his introductory remarks.
Thank you. Dear Vice Rector Baccarini, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, as Dean of the Faculty of Philological and Cultural Studies, I'm honored to open this conference at the end of a great project and the beginning of the further project. The Remapping Refugee Stories project was realized at the Institute of European and Comparative Linguistics and Literature at our faculty from 2032 to 2025. I would like to congratulate the PIs, Paula, Wojcik and Werner, Nell, and the whole team and all the supporters for this successful completion of the project. And I would like to thank the Foundation Erinnerung, Verantwortung und Zukunft for the funding. As Dean of our faculty, I'm very impressed about the project because it is a perfect demonstration of the major role that cultural studies is currently able to play. There are two connections that seem particularly important to me. The first is the connection between structure and individuality. Flight, exile, and migration are phenomena that can be described as important structural factors in many cultures. They can be observed from antiquity to the modern age, and we can try to describe their consequences in general terms. However, behind the structural characteristics of culture lie individual fates, individual stories. This shows that this is not just one general phenomenon, but a network of stories, a network that has been given a face with the Remapping Refugee Stories project. I know such faces very well. I come from a family of refugees. Every member of our family has different memories and different consequences. Everyone has his own story. Our current political culture loves to argue with general phenomena. And it's a major task to give these general phenomena faces, to avoid the idea that there can be one only single solution for the one single phenomenon. Of course, recognizing structures, finding connections, and localizing general problems is an important task. But the reaction to what is recognized must take into account that in the end it is always a matter of individual fates that we have to remember. Only in this way structural decisions can be supported by empathy and a form of justice that respects individuality. Life at our university is also characterized by the tension between structure and individual. We have clearly defined posts and positions, but they are filled by highly individual personalities. Finding a balance between equal treatment and individual stories requires clear rules, but also an open discussion and to take the individual into account. Mrs. Baccarini, you know what I mean, and I say this because I think we found a wonderful balance in such cases. The relationship between structure and the individual is reflected in a second tension I want to point out. That is, and the tension that is currently of greatest importance for us. I mean the tension between complexity and simplicity. The current political discourse is looking for simple answers and requires simple and clear problems to be solved. In fact, there are very complex interrelationships behind this, but people shy away from them in the populistic hope that uniqueness can be better translated into politic than diversity. We know, and projects like the Remapping Refugee Stories make it very clear that this calculation does not work. In fact, dealing with diversity, with individuality must be part of the solution. It is more stressful, but much more promising than denying diversity. My friend Peter Strohschneider always tells a story about this. Imagine two religions meet. If they are polytheistic, many gods, a complex world of many gods means many gods. In this case, it is easier, perhaps it's easier to find a group of common gods. When it comes to monotheistic religions, where only one true God competes with another true God, conflicts are nearly unavoidable. This example is certainly not historically correct, but it shows that diversity and individuality can be a good basis for finding solution. That shows that we need handle with complexity, not to look for simplicity. Those who deny diversity and individuality find it easier rhetorically. Our upcoming government may soon show us how easy this rhetoric can be. Those who declare one migration to the problem that can offer a simple solution. If there is one problem, the migration, you can find a solution named, for example, re-migration. This is actually what happened in the political discourse. Projects like Remapping Refugee Stories show how absurd such shortcuts are, as popular as they may be. At the moment, the winner is the one who wants to make the one and single America, for example, great again, and not the one who shows that this one America does not exist and never has existed. That we are talking about stories, about diverse individual stories, as the Remapping Refugee Stories project has collected and made visible. It is not enough to show that all cases are special cases, but knowing the cases, describing them, honor them, and bringing them to the attention of our society is a central task of cultural studies. It is a fight against forgetting, a fight against simplification, a fight for a serious and good presentations of stories, a fight against disinformation and fake. The Remapping Refugee Stories is a very good demonstration of how research at our faculty can play a role in these contexts. Many thanks for this. I wish the project further resonance and tonight a great success. For me, as a victim of a passion for the theater, this success has already fulfilled because of the presence of Dörte Lyssewski. A warm welcome to Mrs. Lyssewski. I wish us a great event.
Dear guests, dear colleagues, thank you very much for the opportunities to speak at this closing event of the project Remapping Refugee Stories. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the German Foundation Remembrance, Responsibility and Future, short EVZ, I would like to thank you, dear Paula Wojcik, for your invitation. A glance at the project's map, and I guess most of you already have seen it, is enough to grasp the European and beneath dimensions of the escape routes during and after the Nazi era, and to understand the interconnectedness of personal stories as well as those of European states. The stories are exemplary for millions of people who were forced to temporarily and in some cases permanently abandon their homeland. exemplary, but of course, each story is unique. The project succeeds in bringing together very different escape routes and causes of flight from various protagonists and persecuted groups. In this way, unknown stories and fates are brought to light. And it's not only about the Nazi era. An important focus is on their life afterwards. How did people deal with the traumas they experienced? How did they fight for their rights? What continuities of discrimination did they have to struggle with? The project ensures that those memories do not disappear in oblivion. In this way, the project fits perfectly into our funding program. The EVZ Foundation financed this project in the framework of the Education Agenda and as Injustice with funds from the German Ministry of Finance. Our program supports the critical examination of National Socialist injustice and its continuities until today. With transnational and collaborative educational projects about the Nazi regime, the program works towards a joint remembrance of the pan-European dimension of Nazi injustice. The transnational project, Remapping Refugee Stories, corresponds to these objectives in the best sense and in an attractive way. Memories are not only transferred via text, but also via multimedia materials, photos, videos, podcasts, and even a graphic novel. On the one hand, for us as a foundation, it is important to us that the results not only stand on their own, but are accompanied by introductory text, practical instructions, and teaching materials. And that, on the other hand, as many people as possible get in touch with the stories of flight and, ideally, not only develop empathy, but also engage with the Nazi era and European cultures of remembrance. What is important to me, and I would like to underline, are the bridges to the present that are built not only in the stories themselves, but also in podcasts, which are dedicated to a variety of topics linked to flight then and now. This contributes to a political education and the promotion of democratic values, which is, unfortunately, and we heard it before, more important in Europe today than it has been for a long time. My colleague Nana Prinsen, who couldn't attend the evening event today, and I would like to thank the entire project team, and we already heard these are a lot of people involved in this project, for their important and great work. I hope that the results of the 2 years of work will continue to have an impact far beyond the end of the project and will be used in various educational contexts. Finally, I am very much looking forward to this evening and wish us all a fruitful and insightful conference tomorrow. Thank you.
So, thank you for these opening remarks. I want to tell you how I stayed alive after the Germans murdered all my family members, my grandmoms and grandpas, uncles and aunts, hundreds of people. With these words, Guta Tensa opens a letter to her granddaughter Noah. For most of her life, Guta remained silent about her escape from the Nazis. But when her granddaughter travels to Auschwitz-Oświęcim, she breaks her silence for the first time. Silence, suppression, anger, shame, grief, the feeling of being lost, of not belonging. These are emotions that a refugee may carry even when their lives are no longer under immediate threat. Some are crushed by these feelings, unable to escape them. Others seek and find ways to make sense of the rupture that divides their lives into and before and after. We have gathered the stories of 26 persons who, like Guta, were forced to flee. They were persecuted because of their religion, ethnicity, political beliefs, or sexual orientation. Their stories teach us that flight doesn't end upon reaching the supposed safety of a new home. They highlight how the trauma of displacement can transcend generations. They reveal the different challenges faced by children, teenagers, adults, men and women, queer persons, and members of minority groups. They remind us that there is no single universal story of flight. Sharing these insights is particularly important today when international law is being undermined to keep refugees out, when refugees are treated as criminals, murderers, and rapists, when they die on the open water or in Belarusian woods. The stories on our website have been carefully curated by experts from different disciplines. An interactive world map follows the progression of each journey, making the path more tangible. Each story is available in German and English, as well as in the languages relevant to the individual experience, and this makes 17 languages in total, what makes me proud as a comparatist. Let me close this. Guta Tensa's story is available in 4 languages: German, English, Hebrew, and Polish. Let's switch to English. Back. Yeah. Someone has birthday today. On the side of the description of Guta's flight, you can find boxes with information. So this is either personal information or some broader context. Some of the links here lead to additional material. For example, a graphic novel drawn by the Berlin artist who is our singer today, Maura. And this story tells us about how Or, the grandson of Guta, searched for the birthplace of his grandmother in eastern Poland, in Radzeń. I just scroll down a little bit. Some of the links lead to trusted resources where you can find further information. And now I will just scroll down so you can see how we can follow the map, watch the embedded photographs and documents, and follow Guta on her journey into the life. This is a particularly nice picture showing Or in the same spot where his grandmother met her husband, and where they're taking the photo of the first child. So now this journey ends in Haifa in Israel. We have also included here a reading of Guta Tensa's letter by the Austrian-Syrian writer Hamid Aboud. Hamid fled Syria himself, and with this reading we aim to stress that displacement, both then and now, remains a significant force shaping our societies. All of this additional material, this media, can be also accessed directly from our homepage. Under the section audio, you already heard about it, we have some podcasts that address broader topics related to flight, including law, trauma, art as a coping mechanism, gender, and solidarity. In addition to the graphic novel, This website features videos and soon 3 documentaries directed by Avner Feingolernt and Hagar Saad Shalom. These documentaries address overarching topics such as the transgenerational impact of flight, and we are happy that we will have the premiere of one of the documentaries today. The videos range from interviews like the one with the granddaughter of Kwasi Bruse, to portraits like the one about the Viennese-born Hannah Kuh, to readings of original sources like the novel Es lebe der Krieg by Bruno Vogel, the letter of Guta Tänzer, or poems by Halina Birnbaum. Some of the stories are adopted into educational material. For example, the story of Charlotte Schalack, a transgender woman who fled from Berlin. And another core feature of this website is a collection of background materials. Sorry, I'm showing this all the time. I can switch to English, sorry. It's bilingual today. A collection of background papers written by experts according to academic standards, but nonetheless accessible to a broader public. Also, these papers address broader topics, more fundamental topics, and they link back to our stories like the one of Kwasi Bruse. So we encourage you to explore this website from these different perspectives and to engage with the fates of our heroes. And now, please join me in welcoming Hagar Saad Shalom and Avner Feingolernt, who will briefly introduce our first highlight today, the documentary. Where is that? Sorry, this. Okay, let's start talking. Oops, this was too fast. I'm sorry. It was. I'm sorry for this. Okay.
Hello, good evening. Me and Hagar are from south of Israel on the border of Gaza. And we worked on this film after October 7th. And a project that we thought it's only about the past became very relevant for the present. And the questions that people asked from those days became very relevant to the people who are asking them nowadays in Israel at least, but I'm not sure that only in Israel. And we chose to do 3 films about artists, 2nd and 3rd generation Holocaust survivors that are professional artists. And through art, we find the remnants of the trauma of the past, but also the vitality of life. So it's this kind of balance that we try to explore. The first film is about Michael Kovner. He's a very famous landscape painter, and he's the son of Abba Kovner from Vilnius ghetto, who was one of the leaders of the underground resistance, and later on was a very important poet, intellectual, also controversial in Israel.
Thank you very much for inviting us to do this amazing project. Our life completely changed in the last year, and it's get different meaning in these days. And we hope that something will be changed in this world, and to be more optimist and keep going. Thank you so much.
Also the light and everything, light and the show.
Can we turn the light a little bit down now for the screening, please? Thank you.
למה מצדה, מיכאל?
זה מתאים למוד שלי.
בגיל 60 החלטתי שאני אעשה תפנית, וגם בחיים שלי הציורים וגם בנושאים, ורציתי לעשות משהו שהוא מבטא את המחשבות שלי, קצת שדיברתי אליך עכשיו, כל המחשבות הרעות שיש לי, ולא רק ציורים יפים של הטבור, של הגלבוע או משהו כזה. ובסוף, אחרי הרבה התלבטויות, הגעתי למסקנה שאני אעשה רומן גרפי. ברומנים הגרפיים כמעט כולם מדברים על הנושאים הכי אישיים, זה הכוח שלהם. זהו, אז אמרתי מה יש לי הכי אישי? מנהל דיאלוג עם אבא שלי שלא ניהלתי אותו מאז שהוא נפטר. וחשבתי שאבא יהיה מין דמות מרכזית, קראתי לו יחזקאל, נתן אותו כמין אדם בחולשתו, כן? פה רואים את זה קצת, את היופי בחולשה, אני חושב. אני גם מציג אותו כמשורר פה כאיש לא כל כך חזק ומנהיג העם היהודי, אלא אדם די שבור, די חי בספקות, ומשורר לא יכול להיות אדם דוגמטי. בניתי את זה ככה, יש 4 אירועים שהם קשורים ממש לעבר שלו בשואה, ואת זה הוא יראה כשהוא יאבד את ההכרה, או שהוא פה נפל, או הוא חלם. אז הוא רואה את המציאות, אנחנו גם כצופים רואים את המציאות באמת שהייתה. וגם בספר יש, זה נקרא אירועים היסטוריים, ויש הפניה לאירועים ההיסטוריים, מה באמת קרה. טוב, הפרשייה של ויטנברג היא פרשייה קשה, זאת אומרת, הגרמנים באיזשהו שלב נודע להם שיש מחתרת, בעיקר דרך מאהבת של ויטנברג, ואז הם באו למפקד של היודנראט, לגנץ, ואמרו לו שתביא לנו את המפקד של המחתרת, או שנהוג פה את 20,000 יהודים או משהו כזה. זהו, אז גנץ קרא להם לפגישה, ובפגישה הגיעו שוטרים וחטפו את ויטנברג, ואז הם התארגנו, האלה מהמחתרת, והתקיפו את השוטרים ושחררו את ויטנברג. והעבירו אותו לצד השני מעבר לגטו, והם דנו בשאלה אם להסגיר אותו או לא להסגיר אותו. בינתיים מתקבצים גנץ, ארגן את כל היהודים, אמר להם יש מחתרת, פעם ראשונה שהיהודים ידעו שיש מחתרת, ובגלל שהם לא רוצים להסגיר את ויטנברג, כל היהודים ישלחו למוות. אז היהודים מתארגנים, ועם גרזנים וסכינים הולכים נגד הקבוצה הזאת של המחתרת, שיסגירו את ויטנברג. בסוף, המחתרת הליטאית החליטה שוויטנברג יסגיר את עצמו. ואז פה יש ויטנברג מול אבא, אני חושב, שהוא אומר לו, אתה תהיה המפקד פה. אבא שואל למה אני, אז ויטנברג אומר לו, אני החלטתי, וזהו. אחרי שהסגירו את ויטנברג, הציבור היהודי ידע שיש מחתרת, הוא לא ידע קודם. ואז התעוררו המתחים בין הציבור היהודי לבין המחתרת, כן? ועל זה הוא ניסה, מהרגע הזה, שזה היה, לא יודע כמה זמן, עד חיסול הגטו, אבל לא זוכר את התאריכים, עם זה הוא ניסה למצוא מכנה משותף עם הציבור היהודי, עם המנהיגים של הציבור היהודי, ולא כך הצליח, נגיד, התזמורת, או תיאטרון בגטו, והוא היה נגד. אמר, לא רוקדים בבית קברות.
היטלר זמן להשמיד את כל יהודי אירופה. על יהודי ליטא יצא להיות בגורלם בתור ראשון. אל נלך כצאן לטבח. אחים, מוטב ליפול כלוחמים בני חורין מאשר לחיות בחסד המרצחים. להתגונן עד נשימתנו האחרונה. השגיחו, התאריך הוא 1 בינואר 1942, וילנה, בגטו.
דמיינת שהיסטוריה יכולה לחזור על עצמה? לא לחזור, אבל להופיע בצורה כזו?
לא. יש פה כאילו שני צדדים. הצד שעמדנו מול רשע מאוד גדול, שהתקיף אותנו ועמדנו חסרי אונים, למרות שיש לנו צבא. זה חוויה אחת, והחוויה השנייה, מה אנחנו עושים בצד השני. זה שתי חוויות שונות, זה שתי, באמת, בתוך הנפש זה ממש קורע אותך. וזה מאוד כואב שזה קרה לעוטף, שזה האנשים הכי טובים שיש, אנשים שהאמינו בשלום, מחשבות שלהם היו דומות למה שאני חושב בכלל, על העולם ועל הערכים, וכאילו, ארץ ישראל באמת הכי טובה שאפשר. אור לגויים, מה שנקרא, ושם זה קרה. כן, זה... אבל אני חושב ואני רואה שהרבה מאוד אנשים שחונכו בניר עוז או בעירי אומרים, לא, צריך לדבר איתם גם עכשיו. זאת אומרת שדווקא החינוך הבסיסי, ואני חושב שזה היה גם מה שקרה בשואה. אנשים שהיו בתנועות הנוער חזרו לארץ ואמרו, אנחנו עדיין מאמינים באדם. כאילו, לא אמרו, זהו, צריך לשרוף את כל העולם, בגלל מה שעשו לנו.
ראיתי את מצדה, כמה היא סותמת את הנוף, כמה היא שולטת פה. כאילו לא נותנת לנשום לנוף. הר שתלטני כזה, הוא חוסם את התנועה בתוך הנוף. זהו, התחלתי לצייר אותה, ואחרי זה כל המצב, הכל כאילו מתחבר, אבל... לא באתי לצייר את מצדה, זאת האמת. אני חושב שלא נחזור להיות מה שהיינו. פשוט לא נחזור, זה לא יקרה. מה נהיה? לא יודע. לא נחזור זה לא יהיה. זה לא יהיה יותר. מה שהיה לא יהיה יותר. כל הישראל הזאת שימנו בה.
הקנאים שהולכים עד הסוף במצדה מאוד מזכיר את הדרך שאבא שלך בחר.
לא, זה לא מזכיר, כי זה לא הייתה לנו ברירה.
למי?
אנשים בגטו, במחנות, לא הייתה ברירה.
זה שונה מהזמן של מצדה?
כן, למצדה היו הרבה ברירות. אגריפס נשא בפניהם נאום מרהיב, כאילו, מה האפשרויות שהוא נותן להם, האפשרויות הדיפלומטיות. לא היו מוכנים להקשיב, כאילו, הציעו להם הסכם מדיני. הכהן הגדול היה מוכן ללכת על זה, הם רצחו אותו וגלגלו אותו באפו.
ולישראל של היום יש אפשרות אחרת חוץ ממצדה?
ברור.
מה?
כל האפשרות שמציעים לה, מלקקים לה אני לא יודע, את הרגליים, הרי שתלך לאפשרות, הסכם סעודי, הסכם פה, הסכם שם, לא משנה, יש להם הרבה, ממש מלקקים אותנו, רק שנפסיק עם השיגעון הזה.
אז איך אתה מבין את הבחירה שלנו? בחירת מצדה.
אנחנו נכנסנו לטרפת.
זה DNA יהודי?
יכול להיות. זה גם קשור ליהדות, גם קשור למצוקה שלנו, גם קשור לאי-יהירות שלנו. אנחנו יודעים יותר טוב מכולם. אף אחד לא ילמד אותנו.
והגירה לא באה בחשבון בשבילך היום, מיכאל?
הגירה זה עניין של הערכת מצב, כאילו. אם אנחנו באמת צדה, אז מה אתה אומר על הילדים שלך? זהו, קדימה, להתאבד בכיף, בשמחה. אם אתה אומר יש אופציה, אז תילחם על האופציה. אל תברח, תילחם.
סיכוי למרד בגטו. אין עם מי למרוד. הנותרים, שארית הפליטה של יהודי וילנה לא נעמדה בפני מצב של מוות ברור ומיידי. ובין מוות מיידי בגטו, אם תהיה התגוננות או הליכה לאסטוניה, הם לאט לאט בחרו בהליכה באסטוניה. אחד הרגעים הנוראים ביותר שהיו לי באותו זמן היה כשעוד עמדנו על הבריקדה בסטרשונה. הגיעה לשם אמי ושאלה אותי מה אני צריכה לעשות. לא יכולתי להכניס אותה כי היו עוד אמהות. לא חשבתי שבבריקדה שלנו היא מקום איפה שיציל בני אדם. לא הייתה לי תשובה. כן, והיא הלכה למלינה. היא הלכה למלינה. ומרינה, שאחר כך נתפסה על ידי הגרמנים.
לא יישא איש עמי את מיתת עמי. לא ייגש איש עמי אל מיתת עמי. גשו אל המישורים הגדולים, שאו עיניכם אל הנהר הלבן, מבציע מצולתו ומושך כחרטום של אונייה כבדה בקרח, ואמרו עמי, עמי, עמי.
Thank you, Avner. Thank you, Hagar, for sharing this with us. I think I'm too overwhelmed to say anything about this, so I just proceed with our next part. And I think we can very much relate to this by hearing from the stories of some of our heroes that Dörte will read us. And before this, we will hear a little bit of music performed by Maura and Or.
So, let's say her name was Jane. No, not Mary, that be plain. She gave 90 of her life to a man who treated no one right. He kept coming back late at night. Smelled like Susan, but he had appetite. Before his wife came, said that she never came, but she played the game. She know like she's insane, like she's insane. In those years, no child was born. He explained, Jane's body must be wrong. She cooked it us, put high heels for him. In return, the son of a sinner gave blue marks to her skin. Oh, her mother said, never baby. They showed their affection the way that they could. She will not complain, born to live in pain. A woman stand the ring till the day she cried no rain. She cried no rain. Lorraine always liked to get thick for a night, but to live with a man didn't seem to be right. Lorraine gave Jane plenty of books, Simone de Beauvoir, Morrison, bell hooks. The man didn't like the new friend of his wife, called her a devil from a betrothed on the stove. While Jane was cooking some rice, he'd burn the books on the hands of his wife. And then he left for whiskey and Suzanne. And Jane didn't call, let's realize your plan. 2 women was in the stand of the sun, and one of the women was holding a gun.
The letter of Guta Tänzer. To my beloved grandchildren, I want to tell you how I stayed alive after the Germans murdered all my family members, my grandmoms, grandpas, uncles and aunts, hundreds of people. For many generations, Jews had lived in the town where I am from, called Radzin in Poland. The Jewish community in the town was lively. There were many active synagogues and seminars for the Jewish studies. Hebrew was the language in which the teachers spoke to the students. Some Jewish families also sent their children to study at the Polish school. When the war started, I was 16 years old. After a strong plane attack, many died and houses were destroyed. The Germans marched into the town with tanks and other vehicles. The Jews were aware of how much the Germans hated them, so they locked themselves in their houses. The day after, a car with a loudspeaker drove around the town, telling all the Jews to come to the German headquarters to submit goods like gold, watches, furs, and silver. That same day, a few Jews were shot in the street without a trial because they were accused of hiding their possessions. All the Jews were ordered to wear a yellow sign in the shape of the Star of David. My grandpa who was the head and leader of the community, was ordered by the Germans to gather a Jewish council that was called Judenrat. After 2 weeks, all the Jews were deported from their homes and forced to live on 2 wretched streets. All of us were obliged to work for the German army. This was the day they began to torture us. They used to seize a Jewish man with a beard, cut it off, laugh at him, push him around while standing around him and threaten him. One time, a young man who wanted to interfere and help his father against the soldiers was immediately shot dead. They used to come to the houses at night, ravaging and beating us while laughing. They forced elderly people to only wear their underwear and tellets while they stood around them, spitting and laughing at them. Every day, the Judenrat was forced and ordered to gather money from the community and to give it to them. If not, big punishments were raised against the community. Once a German soldier disappeared. As punishment, the army took 100 Jews and shot them to death. This was our life for 2 years. We were afraid of the German soldiers and of the Polish people. After those 2 years, the deportations to the Mijić ghetto started. Every few weeks, the Judenrat was ordered to compile a list of Jews for deportation. After a while, my grandfather couldn't carry the weight of those decisions any longer, and he fled. At this time, rumors started that those deportations were going to extermination camps. My family and I were part of the last people that still had not been deported. On the day we were deported, my family and I rode in a carriage to the ghetto. The Germans were hiding along the way and attacked us by shooting in our direction. My mom and dad died in this attack. I arrived at the ghetto with my brothers. We lived there with a few families in each yard. Many people died from starvation and diseases. Very often the Germans would come into the ghetto and abduct people. My 3 brothers, Feinel, Israel, and Shimon, were taken this way. In a short period of time, only my cousin and I remained from my big family. From the entire Jewish community of our town, only 5 people remained. A few girls and I made a plan to escape. We ordered fake passports from a guy who claimed to be master forger. There were rumors that the Germans were looking for Polish volunteers to work in the Aryan part of German territories. The idea was to fake our identity and have a fake Polish passport. Even though we had paid in advance, many months passed, and we still hadn't received the passports. One day, we saw an announcement in the office of the Judenrat calling on Jews to volunteer for a work camp. We believed that this was our way out of the ghetto, so we signed up and went to the train station. On the train, there were many people. This was the moment when I felt this weird feeling. I got up from the floor of the train and told my friends that I was leaving. They looked at me in surprise. The doors of the train were almost closed, but I squeezed myself out through a small gap. The German officers were far away and didn't see me. I started running. I was too afraid to ask the Polish people around me, and to this day I still don't know how I got back to the ghetto. The following day, the fake passport arrived, bearing the name of Irina Krasnowska. I had to place my fingerprint on it in ink. The ink spilled and ruined the passport with a large stain instead of my fingerprint. Fortunately, no one paid attention to it during the border controls. After the war, I discovered that the train I had escaped from was not heading to a labor camp, but to Treblinka. One day, still in the ghetto, a girl arrived that we knew from the time before the war. She was undercover, traveling from ghetto to ghetto, looking for young volunteers willing to join her in returning to the Warsaw ghetto to take part in an uprising against the Nazis. We thought it was absurd to join her because no one would help us, and none of us had ever used a gun or received any military training. She explained that the goal was not to survive the uprising because our destiny couldn't be changed anymore anyways. The idea of the uprising was to show future generation that we were not going like sheep to the slaughter, but that we were fighting for our dignity. The way to Warsaw was long and dangerous. Along the way, our fake papers were frequently checked. Many times, Polish people recognized some of us as Jews because of their Jewish look and reported them. I've never seen the friends from the way to Warsaw again. When I arrived in the ghetto, it was already in flames. These were the last days of the uprising. The woman who had brought me there was captured by the Germans on one of the trains. They found a gun on her, and she was tortured and finally murdered after long suffering. I got the address of a Polish family that was willing to let me live with them for a week in exchange for some money. That same day, I registered at the Office for Polish Volunteers to work in Germany. They told me to return in 5 days. After 5 days, I returned to the office to leave for German work. In the group of Polish women who were supposed to volunteer in Germany like me, I could recognize by their faces that some of them were Jewish as well. We didn't confess being Jewish to each other because we were afraid. Just before we left for Germany, suddenly the other 3 allegedly Jewish women and I were called in separately to the office. One by one, they interrogated us. Afterwards, the women didn't rejoin the group that left for Germany, and I never got to know what happened to them. During my interrogation, there was a German officer and a Polish woman acting as a translator. She told me that they suspected I wasn't Polish but was Jewish. She told me I could still go to Germany for work, but in a different group. I knew what she meant. I was used to standing in front of death, and I remained calm. I had a very Jewish look, but I spoke Polish like a Polish person. I could fake a very good accent, like a Christian Polish. My accent was perfect, and I played as if I was insulted by the accusations. I told them a fake story about my life and why I wanted to change it. I even gave them a number to call to verify my identity. In the end, they believed me, but told me to wait in the hall. While waiting, I thought to run away because they might go to arrest me, but I had nowhere to go, and I thought they might be testing me to see if I would try to escape. After an hour of waiting, a German officer took me to the group of workers, and we left for the train. We traveled through Czechoslovakia, and at the end of the ride, we arrived in the middle of Bavaria. They took us to an office, and we were assigned to different jobs. I was assigned to work in a restaurant, and I lived with another Polish woman who never suspected that I was Jewish. One night, I spoke Yiddish in my sleep. I woke up and very scared, and I was afraid she had heard it, but she didn't even wake up. This was in 1943. I felt very safe there. This was my life for 2 years, until the war was over. The Germans looked like white, innocent sheep, but a unique cruelty hid behind this appearance. One day, the American soldiers arrived. Many Jewish soldiers were among them, and one of them was my cousin. It was hard for him to accept the fact that his entire family had died, including his parents and siblings. We also met soldiers from Palestine, and it was very exciting for us. Next to the American headquarters, I met a Jewish man. It was already safe to be who I was. That man was your grandpa. He had run away from a death march 2 days before the Americans arrived. After some time, your mom was born. She never heard this story. It was too hard to tell. The story of your grandpa is hard to tell. It was not like mine, where after I had run away, I had some days that were peaceful during the war. Your grandpa was taken to the camps from the very first day in 1939. He worked under inhuman conditions in a horrible camp. Some of the time he was in Dachau and Buchenwald, and most of the time he was extremely underweight. Once he was mistaken to be dead and was thrown onto a pile of dead bodies. You need to remember that one of the people you always see in the movies about the Shoah is your grandfather. He escaped the death march, very sick and injured, but alive. Maybe because of our story, the term 6 million will become clearer. And if you read more about this time, you will see whether we really were going like sheep to the slaughter. Grandma Guta.
Make me look back. I tried to forget. apologize in advance to the Hebrew speakers in the room.
Natalie Hess is born in 1936 in the Polish city of Piotrków Trybunalski as Natalia Chojnacka to an assimilated Jewish family. Her father is a successful lawyer who is able to provide his family with a comfortable life. Everything changes in the wake of the German attack on Poland on the 1st September 1939. Soon, the Jewish population of the city is separated from the other inhabitants by the walls of a Nazi-created ghetto. Natalie's parents are transported to Treblinka, where they are murdered, presumably in 1940. Little Natalie is saved and kept in hiding by a Polish family who are friends of her parents. Yet, the fears of the consequences of hiding a Jew lead to the decisions to smuggle the child onto Natalie's relatives living in the ghetto. Ironically, these relatives are also afraid to keep the orphan, as the German keeps precise records of all household members. Jewish orphans were routinely being sent to death in concentration camps. Ultimately, Helena and Kuba Silberstein, friends of the Chojnackis, make the heroic decision to register Natalie as their daughter, which allows her to pass the selection in the ghetto. Yet, the ghetto does not last long. The German authorities decide to liquidate it. In August 1943, Natalie is sent to a labor camp in the same city. She's accompanied by Helena, Kuba, and Helena's parents. Upon arrival, Helena and Kuba are faced with the devil's choice. Given the camp's policies of eliminating those who are not fit for hard physical labor at the selection, they need to decide by themselves which family member, either Helena's elderly parents or the little girl Natalie, should be given a chance to live. Then another miracle happens. The camp commander walks by with his son on a horse, and the German boy asks his father to take the small girl to be his playmate for that occasion. Upon return, Natalie is dropped off to join the group that passed the selection. One more time, the child avoids what seemed a certain death. After the dissolution of the labor camp, 8-year-old Natalie, along with Helena and her mother Guta, is transported by cattle train to Ravensbrück. The journey lasts for 3 days. And at last the prisoners hear whistles and see searchlights and barbed wire. During the selection, a group of women with children, including Natalie, Helena, and Guta, are separated from the rest, the rumor being they are going to a better place. Suddenly, a woman in striped pajamas who supervises the selection takes Natalie aside and, after looking into her throat, declares she is sick of scarlet fever and thus unable to travel. Natalie and Helena are deeply disappointed. Natalie feels she is to blame for this setback. It is only after the liberation that she learns the dark truth. The transport was actually headed for Bergen-Belsen, where most of the prisoners died. It turns out the woman in striped pajamas, a Jewish physician, knew that Natalie was not ill but wanted to save the life of the little orphan. While in Ravensbrück, the child suffers extreme terror, hunger, and humiliation. Hunger, she says, was a constant companion in Ravensbrück. One small chunk of dark bread every day was the ration, and much as I wanted to save it, I never could. One final fateful event occurs in late April of 1945. Natalie and a number of other children and women are ordered to make a run for a few waiting Swedish white buses. These are the buses to salvation. By a stroke of luck, Natalie and the rest of the passengers are going to be transported to neutral Sweden. Soon after her arrival, a wealthy Swedish beneficator signs her up in an elite elementary school in Gothenburg, where she not only learns to use Swedish like a native speaker, but obtains an in-depth education in Swedish culture and higher class manners. By 1952, the time she reaches the age of 16, she seems to be a complete Swedish girl. It is at this point when a sudden reversal takes place in her life. Helena decides she has to keep her promise to Natalie's father, given in 1940, to make sure the child, in case her parents do not survive, will be adopted by her close relatives. As it happens, her surviving uncle and aunt, who had emigrated from Poland to the United States before the war, are willing to take care of her. And so, Natalie is put on a ship departing for the distant and unknown America. English is the 5th language Natalie learns, after Polish, her first language, Yiddish, German, which she picked up in Ravensbrück, and Swedish. Soon, Natalie repeats the success she achieved in Sweden. She not only masters the English language, but excels in American literature and English writing. Having graduated from college at the age of 22, Natalie becomes an English teacher. This is the moment in her life when English becomes the language of her thoughts. I finally stopped missing my parents, Mamusia and Tatus. I had always carried on long internal conversations with them, first in Polish and later in Swedish, which of course they could not understand. Now, occasionally, I turn to them in English, which has become my new first language. Natalie gets to know and marries John Hess in June 1958. They are a happy couple for 53 years. Yet, despite her quick Americanization, Natalie believes she has a mission to fulfill, to have children and to educate them as Israelis. The only solution is to move the family to Israel, even though it is not originally easy to persuade her husband to do so. It takes Natalie 6 years. The Hess family stays in Israel for 24 years. As Natalie has planned, her 3 daughters, Debbie, Rebecca, and Tamar, attended Israeli schools. In 2011, John is killed in a traffic accident in Yuma. Natalie writes in her autobiography, "My survival strategy has always been to forget. I have forgotten so much. It seemed better to just forget and get on with life. I have forgotten hunger and cold. I have forgotten desertion. I have forgotten humiliation. I have forgotten ambition. But please, dear God, I don't want to forget John. I don't want to forget anything about him." Natalie passes away in 2022 at the age of 86, not long after her publication of her book. She lies buried in a cemetery near Jerusalem, right next to her beloved husband.
I'm the top of black, we get back. Humans who have no reason to hate. We do discuss, we do debate. Ability to see all the shades. We hallucinate into moody states. Sometimes all we need is a juicy cake or a booty shake or a friend that makes us laugh. Let me tell you a joke, cause life is hard. People get robbed, cause we just sit around. Some of them not, they get explain why. When they grow up, they stop in the job, they suck on time, and then they get drunk. Marxist nightmare, capitalist fun. How to live a life that's rich, sometimes late. We just gotta switch to state of mind, but honey, you simplify.
Born on the 9th June 1933 in Germany, as a member of a Sinti family, Mirano Cavallietti Richter spends his entire childhood in the Nazi state. His parents and close relatives, along with 5 other families, tour from town to town, performing variety shows that include drama, acrobatics, music, and dance. By the age of 5, Mirano is already appearing on stage with his father. The rhythm of their lives is shaped by the seasons. Cold winters are spent in fixed quarters, and life on tour begins again from March. But the winter of 1938-39 brings a chilling warning. A teacher at Mirano's brother's school tells him, "Harry, tell your parents and relatives that you Zigeuner are going to be sent to a concentration camp. You have to leave Germany." Mirano's uncle is deported to Sachsenhausen concentration camp, and other relatives in Berlin are reportedly also arrested. Faced with these threats, the family decides to flee. The variety theater group initially decides to go to Bavaria. From there, they want to travel over the Brenner Pass into fascist Italy, a precarious plan. The passports are expired, extended with forged stamps. The border police only allow the group to cross when actress Brigitte Horney, who happens to be present, stands up for people she doesn't know and persuades the border officials to let Mirano and his relatives cross the border. Although Italy offers a brief respite, the families are far from safe. In 1941, the variety group relocates near Milan, performing in gyms. However, constant police inspections force them to move frequently. In mid-August, they are near Florence, where a performance is controlled by the fascist police. They hurry on to Rome, where they only stay for 2 days as police checks are carried out everywhere. The families return to northern Italy, but they are not complete. two of my grandfather's siblings, his sister with her family, and his youngest brother, did not make it. We never saw them again. When the petrol runs out, Mirano's father trades the family's car for 2 horses. It's a bad deal, but necessity dictates. Over country roads and byways, they manage to escape to Croatia in many small steps. On the road in the Balkans, brutally conquered by the Nazi state, resources are scarce. Mirano sometimes begs. The family fishes numerous zander from the river Sava. Their joy is cut short when they see corpses floating in the river. The group only spends 2 weeks in Bosnia. They are confronted so often by the SS and Gestapo that they sell their horses and load their wagons onto goods trains bound for Bucharest. But even there, the situation does not improve. The SS is everywhere. With new horses, the group travels to Kronstadt in Romania, where the SS is also present. The horses are sold again, the caravans are loaded onto goods wagons, their new hope lies in Bulgaria and is immediately buried in Sofia. Here too, it seems impossible to escape the Nazi regime. At the border with Turkey, they are prevented from entering the country and turned away. The families travel back to Croatia. The escape loses a concrete direction beyond survival from day to day. Detained by partisans, they are able to buy their freedom for money. The group's car, musical instruments, clothes, and shoes are taken from them, and they stay and survive the winter of 43-44 in great distress. With the courage of desperation, the variety theater group pretends to be a Kraft durch Freude, strength through joy theater company, and performs for Wehrmacht soldiers. In the spring of 44, the families stay in Croatia. One day, when Mirano and his father return from fishing, their relatives are gone. Allegedly, they have been reloaded into good wagons by the SS and sent to Germany. Father and son hide overnight in a barn while fighting breaks out between Nazi troops and partisans in the immediate vicinity. In October 1944, Mirano and his father finally learn that their family has been taken to a labor camp near Maribor in Slovenia. They immediately set off their journey there, which escalates into an absurd wandering of horror. On the terrifying Croatian route between Zagreb and Osijek, everywhere along the route you could see dead partisans that the Germans had hung from electricity pylons. They are exposed to an airstrike. Father and son reach Maribor via Graz, where they finally find their family again and are admitted to the labor camp in order to be reunited. In January 1945, the camp laborers are ordered to dig anti-tank trenches. Many people seem to realize that the end of the war is approaching. The camp management and guards gradually disappear, so Mirano's family also decides to flee. They travel by train and finally find shelter with a Waldviertler farmer couple who take them in for the rest of the winter. Mirano and his father fall seriously ill with a high fever, but recover and are able to move on with their relatives to the Mühlviertel in Austria, where they encounter the US Army in April 1945. The family put on variety shows for them and can buy a caravan. In May 1945, they travel to Straubing in Germany, where they meet a relative. Mirano learns to read and write, play the accordion and guitar, and comes into contact with the world of operetta for the first time. Mirano's vocal talent is discovered in 1952 and encouraged through singing lessons. Awards and smaller engagements follow soon. He's accepted into the Municipal Conservatory in Nuremberg and passes the final examination for operetta in 1957. The horrors of war, however, have not been healed. After the war, the survivors continue to suffer greatly from their experiences, with the traumatization manifesting itself in sleeplessness and restlessness, anxiety, physical complaints, illness, and depression. During his career as a successful singer, Cavaliere Richter conceals his origins, following advice that his mother gives him when he leaves home. Don't tell anyone that you are a Sinto, because we are always insulted and discriminated against. He uses a different identity for his professional life. Colleagues at the theater in Linz asked me whether I was Italian or Hungarian. I always replied that I was South Tyrolean. Over the wars, I held on to this explanation and eventually almost believe it myself. He marries, and the couple have 4 children. In 1980, the genocidal crimes against the Sinti and Roma have not yet been officially recognized by the Federal Republic of Germany. Sinti go on hunger strike at the Dachau concentration camp memorial site to protest against the special registration by the Bavarian state criminal police officers, which continues into the 1980s. Until 2002, Mirano Cavaliere Richter performs across 115 theaters. His own survival was made possible time and again by the helpfulness of other people, and always, Mirano Cavaliere Richter is convinced, by God's help. He passed away in August 2024 at the age of 91.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dörte Lyssewski, for making these stories alive in this room, and I was really touched to hear them. Thank you, Maura. Thank you all for this beautiful music, and I don't know, for me it was so beautiful to hear Gutta's letter here in this room, and I think for you as well. I think you realize that these stories are, among all this cruelty that happened, these are also stories about survival, about hope, and also about celebrating life, and as Hagar said, keeping going on. So I suggest that now we do exactly this. We celebrate life and share our impressions about this evening over a glass of wine and the one or other empanada. So please, thank you very much. Thank you.